listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome.
Good morning, whoever, wherever you are. I am so glad you're here today. This is going to be a very interesting show. It's going to open your world to different cultures and challenges that we have. We sometimes think we live in the USA and everybody is just like us. Well, they are not. And so this is going to be a very interesting show from that aspect. But we are very much the same in that we want love, we want security, we want good things from life. And that's what you're going to hear about as well. Some people have to struggle more to get there. And some have lived in the United States and always had to struggle to get there. So anyway, you're going to love the show. Let me tell you about our guest today, Kanchan. Oh, tell me how to say your last name.
Bhas-car.
Bhas-car. It's all looks there. It looks a little different from the U.S. English. So Kanchan, an Indian American, is a first-time author with master's in social work and a certificate in life coaching. Being a successful human resource professional, her expertise is in training, mentoring, counseling, and coaching. She has taken the role of advocate, speaker, and coach for victims and survivors of domestic violence. Kanchan is blessed with 3 loving children, a daughter, and twin boys who are well settled in their lives in the USA. She lives in Chicago. So welcome to Texas. You're here. You are here now.
Yeah, good.
So anyway, tell us about your story. You grew up in a family that was full of love and a good partnership. And one of the customs of India, because you were raised in, where were you raised? New Delhi, India.
Right.
When you got a certain age, you have arranged marriages. So kind of explain that to us, because we don't really have that here.
Okay. So Joyce, before I start answering your questions, I would like to say I'm delighted to be on your podcast. You're doing a wonderful job to the society with your podcast and talking about, the different issues and the latest stuff and everything. So I'm really pleased to be here.
Thank you.
As far as your question on the arranged marriages is concerned, arranged marriage means when the marriage is arranged by the elders in the family.
Uh-huh.
And that was one tradition that has been there from time immemorial because of the reason that there used to be joint families earlier. And, in a particular family, there will be 30, 40 people living together in a bigger household where the uncles and the aunts and the grandparents and the nieces and the nephews, everybody lived together. So as the daughter or the son were growing, the older members in the family would kind of have an eye on a suitable match for the person. Because they would be watching in the community, in the society, in other households where they were visiting, etc. So that was one big reason that, they knew in their mind that this will be a suitable match for our son or our daughter because we have the experience, we have more wisdom and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And earlier, the marriages used to happen very, very at early age also. So the grandparents thought that they had more wisdom to choose a match for them. So that is one big reason of arranged marriages being prevalent in India. The tradition has traveled through the ages. Now there are more nuclear families too. The rural India has moved to urban India a lot, from 5% now, almost 30% today as we speak.
Mhm.
And the nuclear families may or may not go with arranged marriages. There are love marriages happening now. How successful both are is another question. Um,
Mhm.
but this is what arranged marriage is. And my time when I was getting married, uh, mine was my parents were, like you said, very enlightened and modern, and they gave me a chance to. My freedom was there. If I wanted to choose my own partner, I had the freedom when I was
Oh.
studying in college, etc. But
Mhm.
I was, I always used to move in groups, and I never had a particular eye, so to say, on a particular match for me. And then also, when I was to get married, my schoolmates were all looking for jobs
Yes. Uh-huh.
from MSW. So obviously they were not employed, and so I would not have pointed at any particular boy at the time. So then
Mhm.
mine was an arranged marriage too. And here I would like to tell you one very funny incident. Not funny. My parents' marriage was a combination of love and arrange. I mean, that time I'm talking of 1947, when love was
Uh-huh.
unheard of. My dad fell in love with my mother, and then he asked for her hand.
Ah.
So that was a combination. So yes,
Yes.
my parents were very modern.
Well, when they arranged it, were your ages always about the same, or was there sometimes great years difference?
No, if you're talking about the age difference between boy and girl, then
Mhm.
it could be anything, 2 years to 7 years to 10 years sometimes.
Yeah.
But then no, age difference does not matter. Obviously, they are not of the same age. When it's an arranged marriage, normally the man would be a little bit older.
Yeah. Well, so your life as you became a married woman um, didn't exactly play out as your parents' life
Right,
did. And
absolutely.
so, can you describe how your relationship turned as you lived in the marriage?
So, Joyce, when I got married, I had a perspective of marriage as a partnership of respect and love, and having a very blissful environment of partnership where
Mhm.
husband and wife are, if not treated equal, I mean, I did know the traditional India, but quite a bit equal in the sense that the woman had the say and the man had the respect for that say.
Mhm.
But when I got into an arranged marriage, the person was deceptively charming and a bright young man, and
Mhm.
I thought my dreams were coming true. But that thought remained with me only for the first 3 weeks of my marriage, and
Oh.
within the 3 weeks of my marriage, my life turned upside down when he first
Oh.
time hit me.
Yeah.
Yes. And then at that time, I knew that I had married a narcissist, violent, alcoholic, and angry man.
Right. And he took that anger out on you. Was it physical and mental abuse?
Yes, when it is physical, it has to be emotional and mental. When it is only emotional, it may not be physical. But in my case, it was both physical and mental and emotional.
So sorry. Okay, so you made some pretty, now you did stay long enough to have your children. So you stayed for many years trying to make it work. I would think that's what
Yeah,
we do, right? That's what women
right.
do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes, I tried to make it work. At the same time, I would also wanting to leave him. But, both were working parallelly at the same time only because Indian laws were not protecting me.
Yes.
The lawyers, when I approached attorneys, they would tell me that you will not have the custody of all the three children if the perpetrator is able to prove that you have mental issues, which is very
Oh,
easy to prove. I mean, if
oh,
you are being beaten and you're emotionally abusive, you're obviously on anti-anxiety or depressed, or your mental state is not good. So
Yeah.
how do you prove that the person is sane or insane? I mean, it's easy to say they don't have a good mental health. And
Mhm.
then also the other thing I was told was that if he proves that I was being in a relationship like an extramarital,
Mhm.
then again I could not have custody of the children. And
Mhm.
in India, I think in any other country, I'm not sure, but it's very easy to prove that you are having a relation with somebody by just producing some pictures in the court,
Yeah.
standing with a man or sitting and sipping coffee or whatever
Mhm.
that is. So that particular reason of the custody of all the three children not coming to me was not acceptable to me at
Right.
all.
Right.
I would not
Right.
have given even one of my child to a person, a narcissist and a alcoholic abusive person. There was no way. I felt the responsibility towards all my three children, my daughter and my
Yes.
twin boys,
Mhm.
that God had given them to me. And it was my responsibility to make them wholesome and good human beings. So there was no question of giving him any responsibility. So that is why, there were moments when I would want to escape and go to the attorneys. I kept going to the attorneys almost every year, thinking that sometime somebody will say something different. Maybe the law changes, maybe something will happen, but nothing
Yes.
happened. And then I had to live with him. There were moments also when he was, with his typical cycle, he would come to a phase where he would be very nice, and you know how they are, the typical
Mhm.
classical cases. And I
Mhm.
would think, oh, maybe I can mend him.
Yes.
And I would urge him to go and take medical help. But, he would always say that I was the one who needed help. And he was a
Yes.
normal person. Again, a typical classical case. So,
Yes.
yes, all the years went by. But again, Joyce, I would like to mention here that I did not waste those 23 years of my life with him. Yeah, on one end, you can say that was a wastage. I don't have regrets today. But I also then started to plan for my escape, because I
Yes.
knew I had to live with him till my children turned 18 and they were able to go to court and say with their own mouth that we want to live
Yes.
with a mother.
Right.
They won't be given to me. So I think within, it was 87. So yeah, within 7 to 8 years of my marriage, I started to build a roadmap for my escape. And I
Ah.
literally built milestones towards that escape. And those milestones were given to me in a way. I would say I would give the credit to the universe. My faith in universe brought me different angels and collaborators,
Mhm.
in the form of mentors and friends who provided me direction.
Mhm.
And one of the big milestones that helped me was being financially independent.
Mhm.
So my
Yeah.
twins were not even 6 months old when I started to work,
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
to make myself a financially independent, to gain confidence,
Mhm.
regain my identity. Took a long time to regain, but regain the strength from a very weak and numb and lost victim,
Mhm.
to a person back to Kanchan, who I was when
Mhm.
before I got married. I would stand for the rights of women. I signed documents on anti-dowry, and at that time in history, 1970s, 80s or so, bride burning was happening a lot in India, where if they don't bring dowry, they were being burnt. So I
Oh.
signed documents and fighting for the rights. So, from that very strong woman, I had become a victim, and living under the power and control and being fearful and uh, ashamed of society and guilty
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
living with him. But I had to come back, and that's
Mhm.
what I did. So those were my first two milestones of being financially independent and starting to regain my strength. Belief
Mhm.
in self was one of the tools I adopted. I call it a tool. Belief in self, belief in universe, and belief in spirituality. These are the three tools that brought my freedom ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we're here because you have written a book called Leaving,
Yes.
about your journey. So why did you feel like you needed to put your story down in a book? Why did you feel the book was so necessary?
Joyce, I got divorced in 2003 and I did not write the book till almost 2018. The reason being that my children had been always telling me to write my story and bring it
Mm-hmm.
to the society and let them know that how strong you were to get out of the entanglement and the whole torment of your husband. But I did not had the courage to put it on paper only because I was still hurt,
Yes.
and I thought it was deeply embedded, and then now I had moved on, and I felt moved on because I think I just put aside the hurt and wanted to enjoy my freedom after
Mm-hmm.
divorce and not waste another even 1 month of my free life into, get still not moving on with my life.
Right.
So, but then I think my hurt was still inside me. The files were somewhere in the archives. They were not deleted yet.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I was not able to uh, bring myself to write my story. But then
Mm-hmm.
a time came when I was free mentally. I was also on spiritual path at the time, and I was looking
Mm-hmm.
for my purpose in life. And
Yeah.
I thought I was having a calling. I had this very restless feeling and longing, and so I always have a habit of keeping a therapist, whether in
Uh-huh.
good moods or bad moods. I always have a therapist. I share my good moments with them, I share my bad moments with them, because I
Yes.
feel that that is one professional who is professionally qualified to uh, advise you, and they are
Mm-hmm.
not biased
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So I talked to her. I said, Leslie, I'm having this calling, and I don't know what my purpose in life is. I'm kind of lost. And she
Right.
said, Kanchan, I know your story. You have talked to me about it. You need to write your story on
Mm-hmm.
paper. You
Mm-hmm.
need to reach out to those people who need you, the
Yes.
victims who want to be free, the people who have just been set free, but they do not know how to take the next step. So
Mm-hmm.
your story will be, kind of a lesson or a direction for them.
Mm-hmm.
So write your story, become an advocate for these people. And
Mm-hmm.
that is where I stood up from my sofa. I hugged her, and we
Yeah.
both had tears in our eyes because I thought that was my purpose. And
Oh
I
yeah.
came back home. On my way, I called all my three children and I said, Mom is writing a book.
Oh, and I bet they were so happy.
And I came back home. I went to the garage. I had a small box kept through the years where I had kept all these small scribblings on tone papers, on notes, on sticky notes, on yellow legal papers. I took out the box from the garage. I went to my patio, which I love to sit, and there's a very good vibe in my patio. There's a church opposite it, and it's all green and nice.
Mhm.
So I put my table and chair, took a pen and paper, and started writing.
Oh, what a book to read. What a book to read. Are they selling it in India? Do you
Yes. So
know?
the book launched on April 11th here. The full name of the book is Leaving How I Set Myself Free from an Abusive Marriage.
Yes.
Um, in America, it is on all uh, the online channels like
Mm-hmm.
Amazon,
It's
Barnes and
on.
Noble, Goodreads, and everywhere. Uh,
Yes.
and in India, I went for also promotions. I'm getting a very good traction. People like you, accomplished and enlightened people, they are podcasting me, and things are happening in a very good way. And I'm very I would say blessed. I feel very blessed at this moment in my life.
That's wonderful. Now, I'm sure you're doing speaking. correct?
Yes.
Yes. And you're speaking to women's groups or
So for now, I have noticed that more women groups are approaching me, although the
oh,
numbers tell us that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men have to go through domestic abuse once in their lifetime. So yes, the numbers of men are equally grave, but not openly men have come.
mhm,
So I'm mostly talking to, college groups, females, the societies, the book clubs, and stuff like that,
mhm.
and also shelters. And that's what I'm doing. I'm proposing to keep on doing that.
Mm-hmm. Do you find a lot of people is the group growing or is it um, about the same every time? Because it seems like we just keep talking about this issue of abusive relationships. And I just wonder if it's ever going to go the other way. I want nobody sitting in that audience, but yeah, I think we're a long way from it.
And you're right. See, we are a long way from it. That is but there is a possibility. There is
Mm-hmm.
still hope. And
Mm-hmm.
hope is something that carries on. And,
Mm-hmm.
revolutions happen by just one person.
Yes.
Historically, we know there was one
Yeah.
person who could bring the revolution, and we are waiting for that time.
Mm-hmm.
That, and also I feel in the society, the awareness of the gravity and the appalling numbers is not there.
Yeah.
When I say talk in America and I say 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men, their
Mm-hmm.
their mouths are open, like they
Yeah.
say, oh my God, is that bad? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's a silent subject, it's a taboo still
Mm-hmm.
in our
Mm-hmm.
society. We need to encourage the victims to speak up and come
Mm-hmm.
out of, come out from behind the closed doors
Right.
and
Yeah.
talk about it. And we also need to encourage the survivors like me to not just settle down, but again, make it their purpose to come out and talk about it. So I think if we keep doing that, we are not far from talking about
Mm-hmm.
it more in society. See, there are other taboo subjects which have come to limelight now.
Yeah.
So we are on the progress. And I'm
Yes.
very hopeful that we are on the path.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know once people read your book, they're going to have many questions, I would think, just about how brave you
Yes.
were to make that transition. Because you shared with me before we got on the air that you had to leave India to get divorced,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going over to America. You really had to sneak or be very secretive about that trip.
So, yes, I did leave India for, with the purpose in my head that I'm going to leave him and get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Because in India, I had to wait for 18 years, like I said. And But I did not sneak or made it secretive in that sense. I did try for various countries and I was not able to get through. I was trying for previous 5 years and trying to see how could I leave India and go far
Yes.
away from him. But then it so happened again, universe and the higher power worked, and I was able to get my visa to come to America. But he came with me.
Oh,
See, yeah, he would not leave me. He would go wherever I would go. So um, he said that I'm not going to leave you like that.
oh,
So I took it sometimes as threatening. Sometimes it was like that what will I do in my life without you guys? Because he was again a lost man. He
yeah.
was a sick man.
Mm-hmm.
So he came with me, and I at that time bought a return ticket for him, thinking that he can come with us just to see where his children are going,
Mm-hmm.
and then he will come back. But that didn't happen. He came back for a moment, but again, after 3 months, there was a knock at my door, and there he was standing with his two suitcases, and he said,
Oh,
"I'm here." But
oh,
then in America, I filed for divorce, and
ah,
within 3 months, because it was mutual at the time, and within 3 months, I got it.
ah. So he was agreeing to the divorce.
He agreed finally only because, Joyce, I came on my visa, and he didn't have any documentation. If I did not help him with his documentation, he would have to go back. So
Mhm.
he wanted to remain in US because this was the country for him to,
Right.
have a better life in that sense. Even if he was drinking every day, he could still have a better living than India.
Yes.
So so he agreed at that time because he knew he will never get the citizenship or the green card without his consent for a divorce.
I see. I see. So is he in the US today?
Yes, he's somewhere.
Somewhere.
Wait, yeah, yeah, and
Yes.
frankly speaking, I don't know if he's still in US, but I think that he is.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He should be. Yeah.
It's funny the way you answered that.
23
Somewhere,
years
he's
of
somewhere.
imprisonment. Joyce, 23 years of imprisonment. Come on.
Oh, that's great. Oh, so the family is doing well, and they've
Very
all
well.
grown and expanded. And
Yes.
do you have grandchildren yet?
I have one grandchild who's 2 years old. The other is on the way.
Good, good, good. Yes.
Yeah.
And do they all live close to you?
We are in the same state, almost like less than 1 hour away from each other. That's again a
Mhm.
planning that we have done recently in the last 3 years or so. We were
Mhm.
scattered, but then we made a conscious plan to be in one state very close to Chicago. All of us are around.
Oh, well, someday you'll have to come to Texas.
Yes, yes, yes. Why not? Yeah.
Oh, um, so tell us about, now that you reflect back on your journey, tell us what you are feeling about all of this effort that you made that did get you to the United States. Where did you get your courage through all those years of struggle and planning and looking for a way out? How did you get your I want to say your support and the strength just to go forward?
So, like I just mentioned, belief in self, that is something that I had to very consciously develop because I'd lost all my strength physically, mentally,
Mhm.
and emotionally.
Mhm.
Physically, I was very weak. I had to get on substitutes. Mentally and emotionally, I planned some techniques for having belief in self, and those techniques were very simple, universal techniques that we all use on a daily life. Things like self
Oh,
care,
oh, yes.
or looking
Mhm.
into the mirror every day and saying, "I'm the best." I mean,
Yeah.
small little things like that. Self compassion, self discipline,
Mhm.
self preservation. I mean, those
Mhm.
are the things that I read, and
Mhm.
I got into books and stuff. Our time, we didn't have the Mr. Google at the time. We didn't have internet. So yes, and I was a good reader before my marriage. So I bought books, I read stuff, I followed those things.
Mhm.
I read one of the books on rewiring, and I said, "Oh my God, this is a good discovery for rewiring my brains from, everyday hurt and overwriting it with some good thoughts and some
Mhm.
happy thoughts." So that's what I did. I also started to do a creative visualization,
Uh-huh.
which meant that I would sit, yeah, I would sit in one corner and think about these beautiful mountains and clad mountains and the waterfalls and the red flowers and seagulls in the infinite sky flying by themselves. And I could create some space in my brain
Yeah.
in for myself. And
Right.
those were the peaceful moments. So in a way, it was in today's time, you call it mindfulness and meditation. Like that was the kind of a meditation that I did for myself. And, just to remain sane. So those things brought a lot of resilience in me. And also reflecting on my previous life before marriage, that gave me the strength also that I had to regain my identity and dignity. So I think I became a fighter overnight. And again, when you read the book, you will find out how overnight I became a fighter. I'll leave that little secret thing with you guys and read it, which
Is
mainly
that
came.
is that what they call the Friday night ritual? What is
No,
that?
no. The Friday night ritual is different. And that's again, that gave me a lot of, my space, I would say, me space. But the overnight turning into tigress came through, talking to an angel, a person who came into my life for momentary for 10 minutes. And what that person told me changed my life. But again, I would leave it to you guys to read the book and find out.
Sounds like the book is interesting. Now, okay, you've gone through all of this struggle and fight. How have you found your experience? Would you do anything different now that you're living in the US, your children are safe, everything is beautiful here? Would you say it's worth the struggle in the years that you took to get
Joyce,
here?
that's why I say the word that I have no regrets of those 23 years. Because one, that marriage gave me 3 beautiful children.
Yes.
So that is one big thing that I don't have regrets. The second is that this country gave me the freedom. I feel totally liberated today. I feel on top of the world. I am living my life all on my own terms. I
Yes.
do what I want to do. I go where I want to go. And children are thriving, and so am I. So
Yeah.
I feel blessed. I really feel blessed. Yes.
Yes. Beautiful. Now, your book is out, and
Yes.
the name of it is Leaving: How I Set Myself Free from an Abusive Marriage. And there's so many people out there that could read this book. So many. I know that.
So, Joyce, I would suggest here that I share that, people who would like to know more about me or cannot find my book, although it's easily available on Amazon, like I said, Barnes and Noble and Goodreads and so many other, Target and Walmart. But visit my website. It's kanchanbhaskar.com. It's KanchanBhaskar.com. You will see excerpts from the book, preface of the book, other YouTube channels of mine on the media section, my bio, and there are all navigations given there of the social media that I just started. In fact, I was never on social media. I've just started 3 months back. So yes, I'm in social media and I'm everywhere.
Oh, see, free woman. Well, we are coming to the end of our show. It's been fascinating to hear your story and to recognize the courage that it took for you to do all of that, and the patience, to wait so many years from babies being born to 18 years. That's a long time. But anyway, as you say, there are always those treasured moments that every child provides us as they grow. And I'm sure you have those in your mind as well. So in closing the show, I thank you so much for having the courage to stand up and share your story on air, as well as write this book. It will help other women. I am confident in that. Now,
Thank you so much, Joyce.
yes. Now, I shared with you that my word for this year is joy. And so I would like, are you willing to play with me on 2 questions about joy?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
My first question to you is that I believe we all experience joy. And there's always one that when somebody says joy, into your mind goes an image or the time or the day or something special. So would you be so kind to share one of your moments of joy that you could just pluck from the sky and share with us?
The day I got divorced. I can say so many other things. My first child born, my twins born, but
of course,
the true joy after all that hurt came to me in October of 2003 when I came out of the court and I had the paper which said divorce. So I think I literally jumped. I came back home and called all the people I knew and I said, I am a free bird today.
Oh,
Those
yes.
were my words. Those were my
Yes.
words to my children and everybody I knew, that I am a free bird today. And I've been a free bird after that.
You're right. That was a good moment for
Yeah.
sure. Now, because you have learned so much from this journey, we never go through sorrow and sadness without learning something. There's always a gift, whether we like to admit it or not. But what could you share 3 things that would help someone who's struggling with the thought of not experiencing joy, how they could prepare themselves or encourage themselves to experience joy?
So, according to me, joy comes to you from within you.
Mm.
Joy is not something that we are looking outside. I mean, outside is always full of sufferings. There are always upheavals, ups and downs, and roller coaster rides we all have. So the joy has to come from within. And when I say within, one has to get in touch with our soul.
Oh,
That
love
is
that.
what I would say, because I'm very spiritually oriented, and I think my true happiness is or came to me only when I got back in touch with my soul, which was lost to my perpetrator for a long time.
Yes.
But then when I regained that, when I started to meditate and feel that happiness within me, that I'm a good human being, I am an honest human being, I am, I should not be greedy, I should not be angry, I should not have that unnecessary lust, and the 4 or 5 things which spirituality teaches us. And you are on the spiritual path, you start to get that happiness because you are not having that bad ego. You are not hurting anybody intentionally. You know how that. And I've heard this. I go to church and, I listened to one of the talks where they said that, break those shackles of jealousy and, envy and all that. So once we do that, that happiness starts to come. And that happiness is the joy that we are looking for. But if for somebody a temporary happiness one has to say to have, then I just shared with you things like creative visualization.
Oh, yes. Right.
Yeah, going to the nature. I mean, nature gives you so much of joy. Once you, go through and see these still trees, strong, still trees, who live for lifetime and us all the service. They are selfless and they are there to provide service to the human being. So when you see all that, you get in touch. Obviously, you start to get in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
So I think when you say 3 things, I think I've when I say creative visualization and being in nature and then getting in touch with your soul.
Oh, thanks. Those are great suggestions. Yes. That I love the soul thing. Yes. We must get to know us.
Yeah.
So, I thank you so much for
because
being.
that's our true identity.
Thank you so much for being on Second Wind. I know there's people out there that are struggling with their own dysfunctional relationship. And by reading your book, Leaving, they can learn techniques, they can learn about rebuilding themselves. They'll learn a lot of good information to help them on their journey of getting to be who they want to be. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to speak just briefly to my audience and say goodbye to them. And then I'll come back and just say a few things to you. So
And let me also thank you, Joyce, for having me on your podcast. And I would like to thank all the listeners too for listening to me. And hopefully they can gain some, I won't say wisdom, but then some direction from reading my book or listening to me. Thank you, Joyce.
Yes, thank you. All right. Now, dear listeners out there, you've heard it a lot. I've loved her accent today. It has that Indian reflection in the words, and it's always a pleasure to hear new reflections in the U.S. We butcher our language all by ourselves. But anyway, I really want you to encourage someone that you know is struggling. I know 2 people that are struggling with their relationships, with their marriage. And so it's quite common, very common in many marriages in the United States as well. So I encourage you to think about some friend that could benefit from this story and that you could help them make their transition. You can be an advocate for them. So I encourage you, if you will, please think about your friends. And then I want to say thanks for being here today. I hope you found wisdom in the words we've shared from I just mess it up. No, I didn't.
Kanchan.
Say it again. Oh, it's so much better when you say
Kanchan.
it. Yes. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to having you here next week. It's always a pleasure. Thank you. Have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.